In this series, you'll witness a brutal and senseless war between humans and monsters. The human army has an invincible plan, but whether it will work or be destroyed by the enemy forces, you're about to find out. The naval fleet comprised of knights, guards, and warriors embarked on a voyage across the vast ocean. After a long journey, the land ahead finally came into view. The land of enemies, a realm inhabited by demons and monsters. The chief knight commander inspired his army to annihilate the monsters, preparing for a great war that would determine mankind's fate. One of the sorceresses sensed Thomas' energy and suspected that Thomas may have orchestrated the conflict. However, the army had no intention of retreating. The warriors were enthusiastic and eager for a bloody battle, convincing them that the monsters were not to blame, but rather a single individual would not be easy. There was still no news from Yuki, but Yuhi believed he was doing his best to stop the senseless war. She vividly remembered the moment Yuki had left her and now cherished the opportunity to support him wholeheartedly. All they could do was wait for the great Setsu. Yuki's other friends agreed with the girl's rationale. As the ship approached the shore, the great battle was about to commence. A cruel and bloody clash. The boats docked on the shore and a multitude of warriors disembarked, charging toward the heavily defended enemy fortress. The enemy wasted no time and opened fire on the advancing attackers. It was a harrowing sight, with wizards from the human side launching magical attacks from above the monster's fortress. Eventually, the foot soldiers reached the enemy camp, undeterred by the ongoing magical onslaught. Each warrior was prepared to lay down their life for the king. The more experienced fighters began instructing the new recruits, advising them not to pursue retreating or attacking enemies, but to bide their time. When the enemy was fully engaged with the vanguard, they would join the battle. The plan was simple and straightforward. It was time to move forward. The strongest warriors swarmed toward the remaining enemy forces. The recruits, however, were unsure of what to do. They had only trained before, and this was their first baptism of fire. Maintaining focus and self-control was challenging. Yuhai, on the other hand, performed admirably and even saved one of her friends. As the enemies started to retreat, no one allowed them to escape easily. A group of fighters took down one of the monsters, and one of the men held his spear, ready to strike the fallen beast. Suddenly, Juha's voice came from behind, pleading with him to stop. He was stunned by her plea. Juha was trying to protect the disarmed enemy, arguing that there was no need to kill him. But the man held a more realistic perspective. He believed that in war, it was either you or them. There was no room for sympathy, as the enemy would rise again without remorse. Yet Yuhai refused to give up and begged her friend not to take the wounded man's life. Laughter and a woman's voice rang out from above as numerous purple circles with symbols appeared in the sky. Massive knights descended from the portals, and the boys recognized one of them from when they first arrived in this extraordinary world. These soldiers posed an even greater threat than their counterparts. Alongside them stood a girl with horns, Eliza, someone they were already acquainted with. Eliza displayed exceptional skill, swiftly dispatching several soldiers at once. On the human side, formidable warriors also fought back. However, the sudden attack caused many members of the army to lose their composure, making it difficult to rally them and restore their faith in victory. Things didn't go according to plan. How could they in the chaos of war? It turned out that these knights were not separate entities, but rather armored shells housing human beings. Eliza was approached by a girl with purple hair who wore a hoodie. The Great Wars recognized her as someone very familiar and were struck by it. That girl turned out to be Amur. She had taken control of Eliza like a puppet. Additionally, she threatened the warriors, stating that she could turn them into the same puppets. She was truly deranged. Elka rushed to attack, but Amur used her puppet magic, forcing Eliza to fight against her own friend. Eliza had no control over her body and couldn't understand what was happening. Elka didn't want to harm the girl and tried to reason with her, attempting to jog her memory and bring her back to her senses. Unfortunately, all attempts were futile. That's when Amur cut her hand and her blood transformed into a purple, smoky substance. The blood that dripped onto the ground thickened and became a magical concentrate. It turned out that Amur was the Lord of Monsters. The substance continued to grow, eventually forming into one large creature that then split into 4 separate entities. Each blood clot became a distinct creature: a huge lizard, a monkey, a snake, and a dragon. Now, it wasn't just Amur and Eliza fighting against the warriors, but 4 powerful monsters. This posed a significant problem. Each warrior engaged in combat with one of the enemies, resulting in a perilous battle. Grain thought he had almost defeated his opponent, but it wasn't as simple as he had believed. The knights swiftly attacked him, along with the dragon, but they were quickly subdued by Tia's magic. Elka decided to confront Aimer personally and asked two companions to take care of the remaining monsters. Yuhai rushed to assist and managed to defeat the lizard with relative ease. All the puppets Aimer had created were destroyed. She had clearly underestimated the strength of her opponents. Frustrated by her failure, Amr ordered Eliza to kill them all. However, Grain stood up to her and reluctantly knocked out his friend, incapacitating her. Seizing the opportunity, Elka approached Aimer and disarmed her. Without a trace of remorse, Elka plunged her blade into Amr's chest, targeting her magical organ. The villainess barely had time to comprehend what was happening as her blood stained the water red. Elka had avenged all those who Aimer had turned into her playthings. Despite her defeat, Aimer refused to give up. She rose up now in servitude to the Lord of Tama. The warriors believed she should have been dead by now, but it turned out her body had been enhanced. Additional organs had been implanted, making it difficult to kill the monster with a single blow. These enhancements were the result of brutal experiments conducted on harmless creatures, a necessary cruelty. Amr felt gratitude towards Tom for everything he had done for her. She now understood the purpose behind her suffering and why he had saved her from that abominable laboratory. If it weren't for him, she would have remained trapped in endless torment. The cruel scientists would have continued their experiments, subjecting her to further torture until her eventual demise. That's why she vowed never to give up and fight until the bitter end. She created a purple symbol in the air above her and employed complex magic to summon a massive chimera formed from multiple creatures. Using her magic, she merged with the chimera to control it. This puppet fed on hatred, and Aimer had plenty to offer. The warriors were bombarded from above, thrown off their formation by a barrage of attacks. However, a magical glowing butterfly fluttered around them, and at that moment, Eliza regained her senses and impaled Amir's chest with a sword. It was a difficult decision for her, as she truly loved Aimer with all her heart. But she realized that the girl she had first met and the one ready to destroy everything were two different people. With Aimer's demise, the chimera dissipated. Humanity had won the battle, but the war was far from over. In the water, a massive paw created by Kagero emerged. Kagero stood in opposition, and Yuhai came to her aid.